Hello and welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles video. Today we're going to be working on the Gnome hoodie scarf from our Dungeons & Dragons series. I decided based on the illustrations from the D&D books that I really needed something with kind of a fun little hood for our gnome pattern, so I'm really excited to show you this one. Today I'm using the Red Heart Colorscape yarn. This is a really nice kind of fluffy yarn. Let's look at some of the information. It is a 4-weight yarn, so a medium, and I have 3 skeins of this total to make the whole project, and this is in this shade Munich. It recommends a 5mm pair of needles, but I'm actually going to be using a 6.5mm pair of needles today. To start off this pattern, you're going to need to cast on the width of your scarf. You can use any even number of stitches for this based on the width that you want. Just keep in mind how much yarn you're going to be using because you are going to need enough for the hood at the end. So you probably want to reserve about half of your yarn quantity for that hood. I'm going to go ahead and start with 24 stitches, see how wide that is, and add if I need to. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That definitely looks like it's going to be wide enough for what I want, so I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to work up the majority of this piece in moss stitch, which is alternating knit stitches and crochet, knit stitches and purl stitches to create a really textured stitch. So I'm going to start with a knit one and then a purl one, and continue knit one, purl one all the way across. You should end with a purl one. Now, since we have an even number of stitches, you're going to continue to do the same thing for every row. So you're going to start, we're going to reverse that. So instead of starting with a knit stitch on the second one, we're actually going to start with a purl stitch. So that whatever you did the previous row is reversed. So we're going to start with a purl one and then a knit one, and continue all the way across, alternating between purls and knits. What this is going to do, instead of doing ribbing like a normal knit one, purl one would do if you matched up the stitches, is it's going to give you alternating stitches, which gives a lot of really great texture, which looks really cool in a fluffy yarn like this because the texture really sticks out. Alright, now we've completed 2 rows. You can start to see that texture forming. I'm going to go ahead and do several rows off camera to show you how the texture starts to work up, but you're just going to continue alternating those 2 rows until your scarf reaches your desired length, or you've used up about 1/2 of your yarn quantity. And this is what it looks like after getting a couple of rows in so you can see those really textured stitches popping out. And because of the subtle gradient of the yarn, the texture pops even though it's a multicolored yarn that we have here. So you're going to continue to do this until you have reached the desired length for the scarf section, and then we'll start the hood. Alright, I completed the scarf section with just a normal bind off, but you can do the bind off of your choosing. And then we're going to do the same exact thing, but we're going to cast on 40 stitches instead of 22 to make the hood. So I've got my yarn. You also might want to leave a pretty long tail on this one so you have something to sew it up with at the end if you choose to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, slide it down, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. So we're going to do our same knit purl pattern. So starting with the knit one, whoops, and purl one. You're going to continue the knit one, purl one all the way across, and then do purl one, knit one for the second row, and I'll show you again what it looks like with a few rows worked up. You can also go back in the video and look at the directions for the previous rows because they are the same. This is what it looks like after you get in a little farther. So in order to measure the right length for your hood, I would take the side of a hoodie that you already really like and just measure along the edge of the hood, so like where the strings would be on a normal hoodie, and have that match the side of your piece. You can also measure it by just draping it over your head and seeing if it hits your collarbones to know if it's long enough. You're going to bind off in the same way that you did for the scarf, whether that's just a normal bind off or the one that you chose to do. And in the next clip I'll show you how to attach the hood when it's finished to the scarf. Once you're finished with your hood piece, you should have something that looks like this. I have mine folded in half, and you're going to sew along one edge to make the hood shape. So connecting the cast on and cast off edges together and sewing up towards the middle, and that'll give you a really pointed hood shape, which goes well with our gnome theme. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the yarn that is still attached to do this part from where I cut it off, and I'm using just a plain plastic yarn needle, and I'm going to do the mattress stitch to sew this up because I like how it ends up being almost invisible in the final project. So I'm just alternating between sides, going in through the middle and then out, and it creates kind of a ladder shaped stitch that you can pull tight as you go to make it invisible. I'll show you what that looks like once I have finished sewing up this part, and then we can attach it to the scarf. Once you have sewn up your hood, it should look like this. I'm going to leave it flipped the same way that it is for now, and we can turn the whole piece inside out at the end. But for now, you're going to want to lay it flat with that seam in the middle and line it up with the center of your scarf piece. I would recommend folding your scarf in half to find it, which is what I'm attempting to do now, slightly off camera. This is where a bigger crafting table would definitely come in handy. But here is the center of my scarf. I'm going to spread it out. Whoops, I'm sorry for that lighting issue. I've been having some electricity issues in my apartment lately. But once you have lined up your two pieces, you're just going to mattress stitch them together so that the seam part of the hood is the side that's attached to the scarf. And I'll show you what that looks like when it's all done. Alright, and here is the finished project. We've got a nice big cozy hood and a scarf long enough that you can tie it in front. I did not add fringe to mine, but I think it would look super cute with fringe as well. I also think adding a pom-pom or a tassel to the pointed part of the hood would be super cute. I hope you enjoyed this project. I'd love to see your recreations, and if you do, make sure you tag me on Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok and on Etsy. If you liked what you saw today, make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can see more crafty content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!